Good, good morning, and welcome to our third and final conference. Today, we wanted to focus on social media and how, over the past year, our increased dependence on the internet has been both positive and negative. We've got a panel of experts who will be able to answer some of your questions, including Ellie from the Lowdown. But first, we wanted to start off with some facts. Go to the next slide, please. So, over the past year, we've all used the internet and social media more, whether that's been for work, online school, or as a way to connect with your friends. But how much time do we spend on the internet each day? If anyone's got any suggestions, you could put those in the comments now. So, the average person spends 10 hours on the internet each day. So, we just want you to think about how you spend your time on the internet. Do you think you spend more or less than 10 hours a day? And what is it that you're actually spending your time doing? Is it in a positive and constructive way? Next slide, please. So we've just learned that the average person spends around 10 hours on the internet per day. But how can you protect yourself online? Passwords are one of the most common features, and you'll probably have many different passwords for a range of different sites. You'll probably know that you should really have different passwords for different websites and to change them regularly, and how adding a number or a special character can increase the strength of your password, as well as using a range of upper and lowercase letters. But what percentage of cyber attacks do you think are based on stolen or weak passwords? If anyone's got any suggestions, you could put those in the comments now. Wait a second. So it's 81%. I'm not sure if this is any higher than you thought, but this shows how important it is to have a strong password and how important it is to change them regularly to make sure that you don't fall victim to one of these attacks. Next slide, please. So how much of the internet is real? Have you heard of bots? Do you know what these are? Everyone will be familiar with those recapture forms at the end of internet when you're buying something or if you want to subscribe, where you have to select all the pictures of the bus or decode a series of characters. But how much internet traffic do you think is actually made up from these bots? Does anyone have an idea? Next slide, please. So it's actually 37.9%. So there's a fair proportion of usage on the internet which is actually bots and not humans at all. Next slide, please. So during the pandemic, we've all become more adept to using online meeting platforms like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Google Meet. But over the past year, what do you think has happened to the number of daily Zoom users? Do you think these have doubled, tripled? Let us know what you think about this in the comments. Also, what do you think of these platforms? Have you grown to love them or loathe them? If you've got any experiences that you'd like to share with us, you can put those in the comments now as well. Next slide, please. So the daily Zoom users has actually quadrupled during the pandemic. So that means there's 4 times as many people each day using Zoom compared to before the pandemic. So are you one of these people? Next slide, please. So we've just got one last question to finish off. So as we all became more isolated during the pandemic and we were replacing in-person meetings with virtual ones, what toll did this take on mental health? This is something that we focused on in our last conference, and it still remains really important. Young Health Watch had launched a survey between January and March this year, which was when schools were closed and most people were doing online learning. There was over 1,000 11 to 19-year-olds that responded, and we want to know what proportion of young people said that their emotional well-being or mental health got worse during the pandemic. So if you've got any ideas, you can put those in the comments now. At our last conference, we're looking at mental health and what could be done to help you or your friends, and we can share some of the link to this conference if you missed it, if you'd like to have a watch. It was really interesting. We got to speak to lots of different panelists and experts who spoke about the effect of COVID on our mental health, what we could do to help. And it was great that they were able to answer some of your questions as well. Next slide, please. So what proportion of young people said that their emotional well-being or mental health got worse during the pandemic? And it was actually 53%. So that's over half. So we want you to have a think about what effect COVID had on you. And to speak to your friends, parents, or someone that you trust. And we can post the link to some services around Northampton that we spoke about last time that could be really useful. Next slide, please. I hope you found that helpful. And now I'm going to pass you over to Zach, who will introduce us to some of our panelists. And if you've got any questions, remember to post those in the chat. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Zach. Just none of you can hear me quickly, just to make sure. Thanks, brilliant. Right, today we're going to be interviewing talking to two wonderful panelists. As Charlie said, if you have any questions, make sure to put them in the chat so we can ask them. I'm going to hand you over to the two panelists we have to introduce themselves and talk a bit about their company for the first thing. So, what do you guys do? Yeah. Introduce yourself and tell us something about where you work.
Okay, I'll go first. My name's Ellie and I work for The Lowdown. We support 11 to 25-year-olds with counselling, wellbeing, LGBTQ services, and unfortunately, because of COVID, our sexual health service is on hold at the moment. But we're based in Kingswell Street in Northampton Town Centre. And if you want to have any more information on any of the services, you can go to our website and see how to make a referral and what different services we've got on offer for you.
Brilliant.
Hi, my name's Siggy. I work for Northamptonshire Mind. So we support people over the age of 18 with their mental health. We run courses such as anxiety, depression and stress courses. We have young people service, which is called Fresh Minds, which is for 18 to 25-year-olds. And we run various groups, music, art, that kind of thing, out of our offices all over the county.
That's great. Right, today I'm going to ask you guys 5 questions. Yeah, we might be more, but I've got 5 questions here, and any other questions that are in the chat, yeah, linking to online safety and mental well-being, linking to that. So answer them the best as you can. First one, what are your 3 top tips for staying safe online? Either of you can answer first, I don't mind. Do you want to go, Tiggy?
Yeah.
You look like you want to, yeah.
So awareness, so making sure that you're aware of the information that you are looking at. Like you said, security online, so making sure your passwords are secure and that there's like sensitivity to certain information on the internet, so it's looking at that as well, and looking at sources of where things come from. Is it fake news? Is it something that isn't relevant, or is it relevant? Is it a trusted source? So trusted source, someone like the BBC that we would trust would be good information online.
And Ellie?
Yeah, similar to Tiggy, really. So my top one would be to think before you post. What you put out there is forever. You might be able to delete your own posts, but other people can take a screenshot of that and take records. So make sure that think about what you're going to post before you post it, because going for job interviews and things like that in the future, you want to make sure that what you put online is something you'll stand by for the future. As I say, what Tiggy said, don't share your own information or private information online, and also to make sure that your privacy settings are set so you know who is applying to, or asking to be your friend, and also to make sure that beware of fake news, as Tiggy said, to make sure that the sources are correct. If it's too good to be true, sometimes it usually is. So just make sure that what you're reading and what you're sharing it comes from a reliable source.
Brilliant. Okay, sort of following on from that, why shouldn't you share your personal information with people you don't know online? Can anything bad actually happen?
Oh, yeah, good question. And I think it's the relevance thing, isn't it? Like if you post something online, it could be online forever. You know, you can't take that back once it's out there. Like Ellie said, you know, be really aware. You might think it's fine at the time, but then looking back, it might become a problem. So I guess, you know, it's just thinking before you post, isn't it? Like Ellie said, making sure that you're aware that once it's out there, it's very, very difficult to bring it back.
Yeah.
And online grooming as well. If you're in a group chat, make sure that everybody within that chat is people that you know. Unfortunately, adults can pretend to be the same age as you. Unfortunately, things bad can happen online, and it's just making sure that you have the right awareness to who you're talking to, and to make sure that that you're keeping safe, and other people know who you're talking to as well.
Yeah, be safe and don't share information with people you don't know. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So following on again, what are the key signs of grooming? Because you just mentioned grooming back then, but are there any key signs of it that you can look out for?
If somebody's requested to be your friend, whether it's via email, it could be Snapchat, it could be Instagram, any of the social media platforms, somebody just make sure that they are a real person. People can take photos of everybody else. You might not know that, but then it's what happens after they become your friend. Are they sending you lots of text messages and asking you lots of questions about who you are and what you're doing? Are they asking you to keep your conversation secret as well? You know, don't tell anybody that we're on or we're talking. That could be a very big sign that it's not somebody that you want to be talking to if they're trying to keep your conversation secret. Asking if they're trying to find out more about you, who's in the room, etc. That can be a sign of online grooming. And then getting you to share your personal information with them, telephone numbers, addresses, etc.
Yeah, anything to add it?
I would just say if it seems too good to be true, it normally is as well, you know. So, you know, someone's going to be playing to what they think you want to hear. Just being aware of that, if they're flattering you and that kind of thing. And I think for friends and family as well, just looking at secrecy as that person started to hide information from friends and family and that kind of thing. So being aware of signs in somebody else as well.
Yeah, and asking you to send images of yourself. If they're asking that, then it's more than likely not going to be somebody that you want to be talking to. And then maybe they might want to blackmail you. So if you send them a photo, I'm going to show somebody this, for you to get them to do something, to share images of yourself online as well. So just be, you can talk to people online, but just be wary of who they are.
Yeah. What should you do if you're caught in this situation where you've sent images to this person, or someone's been talking to you that you don't know, and you just don't know where to go from there, and perhaps they're blackmailing you, perhaps they want to meet up or something? What do you do then?
Absolutely, tell somebody in authority. Absolutely, you know, if you can't go to the police, tell a teacher, you know, or a trusted family friend, somebody that you know you can rely on with that information. Obviously, the ideal scenario would be go to the police, but we appreciate sometimes that's difficult. So yeah, telling an adult that you trust, so they can sort of set the ball rolling.
Yeah,
there's definitely tell somebody that you trust as well, to be able to share that with. There's a really good app called Zip It, which if somebody's asking you to send images of yourself, then you can download that app, and it's got lots of images on there of what you can kind of send back for anyone to be able to help you into stop sending, or somebody asking to send those images to you as well.
Brilliant. Okay, sort of linking into that, is it okay to trust someone you've met online? Yeah, not in person, but just online.
Good question. Okay,
it is a very good question.
Yeah,
it's really hard to answer.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Could be
I
anyone.
Think, yeah, and I just think be aware. You know, be wary. You know, maybe don't put all your trust into somebody unless you have met them in real life, because you never know. You know, like Ellie said, you can hide behind a photograph or an image online, you know, and if you haven't met that person in person, you know, you just have to be a bit more wary.
Yeah, trust has to be earned. And if somebody has requested to be your friend and then you start up a relationship, because it could be, we're talking about all the dangers of that. It could genuinely be somebody that is your age and that is interested in you and a similar hobby or something that you're interested in. So using time to make that trust. And then if you do decide to meet up, make sure that you take somebody with you, that you're safe in doing that. Tell a parent, tell friends, you know, and if just be safe if you do decide to meet up with somebody.
Yeah.
And put those procedures in place so you've got somebody to be able to talk to and let them know what's going on.
Make sure someone knows where you're going.
Yes.
Yeah, just to keep safe.
Yep.
So what should you do if you receive a text message or email from someone you don't know? Do you just ignore it, or do you take precautions?
I guess it depends on the content, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So if it's just a friendly like introduction, you should treat it with care, but still respond politely.
Yeah, again, it just depends on the content and how they're talking to you. Is it by email? Is it a phishing email that's trying to get you to click through links, things like that can put viruses on your computer? If it's somebody just kind of having a chat, look at their profile. Are they somebody that's just got one image on there? Are they? Is it just a picture of a cat, you know, or something like that that's not a real person? If somebody does contact you, then make sure that you kind of do a bit of investigative work to make sure that they are who they say they are.
Real and authentic, and not just a fake account made up. Yeah. Okay. We've got a comment actually from Sophia. Why do you think some young people don't talk to adults when they meet someone they've just met online?
Oh gosh, I guess for the same reason that, you know, I guess all young people sort of keep things for, it's sort of the peer pressure, isn't it, and the kind of wanting to be one step ahead of your parents, and maybe not having the best relationship with adults as well can be difficult, can't it? So hopefully having an adult that you trust, if it's friends, family friend, or, you know, then hopefully that would be your go-to if you did need to sort of divulge information. But it
could be quite if they are somebody that is grooming or something like that, they could be quite exciting what they're talking about. They could be offering you items. It could be iPads, you know, things like that. I know that's happened previously. So just trying to choose somebody that you do trust, and I know that might be difficult. It could be a friend. It doesn't have to be your parents. It could be a teacher. It could be somebody that you go to as a youth club, counsellor. It could be somebody, anybody that you want to talk to. But it is important to be able to put that trust in somebody and let them know that you have been contacted online.
Definitely. And I think COVID has had an impact on that, because the sort of face-to-face meetings with those trusted adults might not have been there as much. Things like youth have been closed down, etc. So I guess it is just having, even if it is just one person you really think actually I can go to and I can be honest with. But like Ellie says, I think the grooming they're so seductive in what they do, and they're so clever in the ways that they do it, you know, and they say things like, oh, you know, don't tell anyone, don't tell your parents, or they won't let you come and meet me, or, you know, they're very, very clever and very manipulative. So that could be another reason why then the young person would struggle to tell somebody.
Yeah, it is very scary, and everyone needs to make sure they do tell someone. Another one from Sophia. What's the importance of limiting what personal information young people post online?
Really important.
I think we touched on it earlier, didn't we? About once it's out there, you can't
get it back.
Easily, you can't. It's not like on a piece of paper you pass around and can rip up. it's there on a digital imprint for forever potentially. So you have to think about yourself in 2 months' time, in a year's time. How would you feel about that image still being out there?
Yeah, if it's your personal information, if it's emails and telephone numbers are relatively easy to change, but addresses, things like that, it's not just your safety, it's people around you as well. So people that live in your home, if you give out an address, you want to be able to keep everybody safe, and putting information out there. As I say, you can't always get that back. It can be screenshotted straight away. So as we said at the beginning, kind of thinking before you post, and also the long-term effects of that. And
it does make you very vulnerable as well. You know, as soon as people know that information about you, they have some kind of power over you. So I guess it's just being aware of that.
You've got to be very careful with what you let out. So like, I was looking into one where you have to be very careful with what photos, for instance. So if you send a picture of you in your school uniform and it's not on a private account, then people will know where you go to school and they might be able to find where you live, which is quite scary just from that small logo you wear in your blazer. It's not great, is it?
No, and any photos, like you said, any photos that you put out there of yourself, even if you don't put your head in it, or they're out there and they can know where they can come from. So it's important, again, just think before you post.
Yeah. Here's the thing as well, though, because lots of people think they're posting pictures on apps like Snapchat, which delete after a certain amount of time. I think WhatsApp has that as well now. Yeah, they think it's safe to do that because the photo will delete after being viewed once or a period of 24 hours, and it will never be able to be viewed again. Yeah, but what's your opinion on that? Because it can be screenshotted, can't it? And
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And like Ellie said, it just takes 2 seconds, doesn't it, for that screenshot?
Yeah.
And there it is. It's out there forever. So yeah.
Again, it's just being careful and aware of what other people will see. If you haven't got the privacy settings on your account, it's not just your friends that will be seeing that. It does go to say to the whole world, but it's difficult, and it's hard to kind of know what you want to put out, because if you're having you want to obviously be on social media, and there's some good points to that. It's just being make sure that you're being safe.
Yeah. Well, privacy settings, as you mentioned. Yeah. Why is it good to have them enabled? Because my sister, for instance, have all of hers disabled because she wants to be famous and on her. But that's what she says. She wants to be famous on all her accounts. She wants to have all the followers. Yeah. Lots of kids want this. Yeah. Why is it good to have privacy features enabled? Because that's very important.
It is, because you don't know who's going to be following you, and as I say, what we've said before, what you put out there is forever. It is as compared to when previously there's lots of jobs that you can do, Instagram influencers, things like that they will have open accounts, but it's being wary and making sure that if you do receive messages from people, that the signs of what could be out there or what could bad things that could happen, but also maybe having a parent that can look into that account as well if it is open, so they're aware of what happens and what messages that will go in, and also comments as well, because lots of people can comment on your photos, and they might not be as nice as what you want them to be.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so cyberbullying, we've touched on this a bit as well. Who to go to about it and that. Is there any websites you can go to for if you're being cyberbullied and you don't want to speak to a close adult, or just not just cyberbullying, if you want to talk to someone about you're struggling with something online, mental health, I know you can go to Mind. So
and when we've got a wellbeing cafe that you can attend every Monday and Friday evening between 4 and 8, You can drop in, and you can also have remote sessions that you can come and speak to somebody, and that can, as I say, can be face to face or it can be remote. So there is lots of, I can't think of any websites off the top of my head, but there's lots of organisations out there that will be able to support you if you do feel that you're caught in an online grooming situation or you're being bullied online. Then there is people out there, and particularly like Mind and the Lowdown, and there's other counselling agencies across the county as well if you're not in Northampton.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're struggling with your mental health, there are various resources. There's the Integrated Response Hub, which you can phone, and that's a 24-hour line. So if something's happening and you're really afraid or you just need someone to talk to, you can phone that number. You can find the number online. Like I said, 24 hours a day. And there's obviously with Mind support as well. You can just ring up for what we call emotional support. So anybody can ring over the age of 18 and just get some support.
Yeah, brilliant. And we've got another question here from Sophia. What should we look for in a young person who we believe is being at risk of being groomed? Yeah, so what effects does it have on that young person?
Being secretive, probably the main one.
Hiding away, yeah.
Yeah, or not telling adults where you're going or what you're doing. It's just being secretive would be the main one, because obviously the person grooming you is going to want you to keep it a secret. And they might give you an incentive. They might say, "Oh, keep it to yourself, and I'll buy you this, or we'll do that." Or so I guess that's the main one for me.
Yeah, and that would be for me as well. Or if a young person, turns up with brand new trainers and they're not explaining to you where they're coming from, if they've got a new phone, iPads, things like that. If they've got new items and they're not explaining where they're coming from. That could be a sign as well that somebody's buying them lots of things to be able to get the rewards that they want.
Yeah. I think
and it can have a huge detrimental on their mental health as well. They could be anxious, excitable but anxious, quite up and down, and secretive, as Tiggy said as well.
Yeah, maybe more emotionally vulnerable, like more moody, or just isolating themselves.
If you see someone in this situation, is it important, and you think something's up there, is it important to contact them, talk to them about it, or should you talk to their parents or go to the police?
I'd say it's always best to talk to the young person first. Obviously, every situation is different. You could approach to talk to them. It might not be now that they would want to talk to you, but at least they know that they're there. That you are there to support them, and they might have an inkling of what's going on. Depending on how the situation, if it is escalating, then you might have to talk to their parents, or and then go to the police with their parents permission. But trying to directly talk to the young person and ask them, because if they're your friend, they might feel that they can confide in you, and then you can try and help them.
But just being aware, if you feel that person is very vulnerable or being threatened, then it is time to involve the police.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's the child's safety, isn't it? So.
Looking out for their safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of knowing what level they're at, and if you do think that they are really vulnerable and in quite a scary situation that you wouldn't want to be in, then definitely go straight to a parent, teacher, or somebody of authority like the police.
Thank you, guys. I think that's all of the questions. So if you guys want to drop your websites, and any other information you want in the private chat, and then we can copy that over to the comments so everyone can see, or put it on the screen later on or at the end, then that'd be brilliant.
We'll definitely do that.
I think that's us. Done then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Zach, and to our panelists for answering some of those questions. If you've got any more questions, feel free to sort of keep putting those in the comments, and we can get back to those or get someone to get you an answer. So we've got just one last presentation now. think about how we can use social media in a positive way. We've spoken a lot about some of the negatives and how you can protect yourself, but we also know that social media is very positive and there's lots of things that you can do in a good way, and it can be very helpful as well. So we want to look at some of the positives as well just before we finish. So how can social media be used in a positive way? If you want, you can put some of your suggestions in the comments now. So there's lots of ways that you can use social media, like education, contacting friends, gaming, speaking with family, and some of these will appear on the screen now. You can online shopping as well as getting lots of mental health support. So if there's anything else that you use social media for, you could put those in the comments. And we really want you to think about how you're using social media in a positive way, what you're able to get out of it as well. Next slide, please. So when you're using social media or the internet, you need to remember to be smart. And this is probably an acronym you've come across before, but it's really important. So we just wanted to share it with you again. So it's being safe, which is the S. Remember not to meet up with anyone. If you don't know them, make sure you tell an adult. So it's lots of things that we discussed with our panelists before. Making sure that you've got privacy settings so that you're only having friends that are able to see your content that you know. Making sure information is reliable, not just trusting the first website that you find. And tell is the really important one. So making sure you're talking to somebody, whether that's a friend, an adult, or someone else that you trust, to make sure that you're not alone. So if there's anything else that you think that's really important to remember, you can put those in the comments as well. Next slide, please. So how can we make social media a more positive place? What do you think that we could be doing? So there's lots of ways that you can change your feed to be more positive. So removing or unfollowing any pages or any people that don't make you feel good. Anyone who's posting content that's not very nice, you don't need to follow them, you don't need to see that content. So you could remove or unfollow these people. There's also abilities now to set screen time limits. So I know it's really easy to spend an hour or more on an app without even knowing it. So there's functionalities there so that you can limit your time on specific apps, or even just to make you aware of how much time you're spending. Like before, we learned that it was around 10 hours every single day on the internet. So that maybe you'd look at maybe how you use your time and how you can maybe do something else that's not on a device. And if you find yourself opening or using a specific app too much, you can maybe try deleting it for a week or try to reduce your usage for a period of time and then see what else that you can do. And alongside these social media apps that we're all very familiar with, there are lots of apps that can help with mental health and relaxation as well, like Calm and Headspace. So these can be really helpful and really useful for anyone of sort of any age. So if there's any apps that you know that make you feel happy, or any apps that are really helpful, you can share those in the comments as well now. Next slide, please. So linking from what we've spoken about before, remember at the start, an average person can use the internet for over 10 hours a day. So we want you to have a think about what your screen time is. Maybe after we finish the conference, you can go and have a look, maybe over the past day or the past week, about how much you're using your devices. And apps like Facebook and Instagram make it really easy now to track your time within the app. So there's some information on the screen there of how you can do it. So you can watch this back on YouTube if you want to know how. It's really easy to find out. And you can do it in the settings section of your phone now as well. So we really want you to have a think about how you're using your time on devices and what it is that you're doing most and how you can maybe change that. So maybe spending a bit of time on some other applications, or maybe some time where you're not using the internet completely. So I'm not sure if anyone had any other questions before we finish. We wanted to end on a positive note. So there's lots of things that you can use your devices for, and they're not all dangerous, but we just want you to be mindful of how you're using the internet and how you're using social media, and have a think about what you could do to maybe change it or make it even more positive. So if anyone's got any final questions, you can put those in the chat. I think we can finish there. I just want to say thank you again to Ellie and Tiggy for joining us and helping to answer some questions. And we'll share some of their information. So please reach out if anyone's got any more questions or if you'd like to talk to anybody. And thank you very much for joining us.